no pun intended, all the way up to episode number 43. I am joined, as always, by Matt Jensen. Matt, how's it going?
Good, Jesse. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing great. We're recording a little bit later than usual, so thank you all for joining. If you are joining us live, this is a live recorded episode. If you want to join our live episodes while we do them, you'll get to see all the bloopers, all the outtakes. We've already had one blooper and outtake since we got started. Well, we are rolling now. We are rolling now. Yeah, so what was exciting about this morning, Matt?
So this morning, I got to do an interview with Ben Johnson from the Perpetual Chess podcast and also author of Perpetual Chess Improvement, which is a really good book. And we were talking World Chess Championship predictions. So I have all of the data ready to go. And I'll also be writing an article for chess.com on this too coming up. So we're going to dive into all those stats and some of the data tonight.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're not going to spoil the whole podcast that Ben's coming out with, but we'll kind of give some teasers as to what Matt talked about. And it was mostly the World Championship, right?
Yeah, that's right. And his podcast episode will have multiple guests on. So I'll just be a small part of the episode.
Yeah. And I know you've been on this podcast before. It was kind of for the same thing last World Championship cycle, right?
Yeah, that's right. So we kind of went through similar data. And I also wrote a similar article for chess.com. So I reached out to him again this year. I said, hey, do you want me to do a new version of this? And they said, yep, let's do it.
Okay. And did you say you reached out to chess.com to do a new version or to Ben?
To chess.com. Well,
Okay.
actually, I think it's interesting both times. I think Ben first reached out to me saying, hey, are you doing stats for chess.com on this match? And then I would ask chess.com. They would say, sure. And then I would say, okay, now it's definitely worthwhile to dig into the data.
Okay. Nice. Uh, well, cool. Because have you been on this podcast twice before, or is it just once?
Oh, I don't remember. I want to say it's twice, but my memory's terrible for those things.
I think it has been twice, but again, I can't really remember either. Okay, so we have a so should I share the doc, do you think? Or maybe we just go
Um,
through it together.
yeah, I think just going through it's going to be better.
Okay, so during his interview with Ben, should we drop the coupon code or should we save that for Ben? Maybe we'll save that for Ben's audience only.
Yeah.
We run plenty of sales. So if you want to get on our sales, chess.com or chessgoals.com, I did it again, chessgoals.com/newsletter, and you can get all of our sale coupons. And we run sales pretty often. Okay, so Chess Championship 2024. What do you know about? So there's kind of one major factor, and that's Gukesh's age. So this isn't a typical World Chess Championship where both guys are 35 or 30 plus. Gukesh is 17 years old, which is kind of insane. Actually, he might be 18 now. And so how does that factor into the model?
Yeah, so this is super interesting. I went and I pulled data from the last 18 World Chess Championships, and I looked at the players' ratings, their ages, a few other factors, experience level, and really there were two things that mattered. Number one, what are their current ratings? Both in terms of the average rating between the two players and the difference between the two players. And then the second thing that matters is if there's a big age gap. And it needs to be over 7 years, at least based on that 19 championship data set. Because these players are 12 years apart, they fall into this category. And
Okay.
I don't know, do we want to go into those stats yet or talk a little bit more about the match first?
Yeah, maybe let's talk about the match first. Okay, so
Okay.
one thing that you have in here is that the draw rate is expected to be pretty low. So we saw with Magnus and Fabi, the draw rate was 100%. And in previous matches, the draw rate was pretty high. But what do you predict or project, I guess, the draw rate to be for this Chess Championship match?
So usually the draw rate's 70%, like you said. This one, I would say 65%. It's the lowest draw rate out of all 19 matches going back to 1985. And the reason's twofold. The first is the average rating of the two players is low. Thank you, Ding Loren. And the second is the difference in the ratings is large.
Yeah.
Um, so what we have here is a little bit lower quality of average play based on their ratings, and also a higher win probability for Gukesh per game. And both of those just mean we're going to probably see less draws.
Yeah. And I just did quick math. So if the draw rate is supposed to be about 65% and it's a 14 game match, we should be getting like 5 decisive games. So roughly a third of all games should be decisive. So we'll see if that plays out. I sure hope so. Even like highly contested draws are fun, but if they just do like the line where they move their queens back and forth in the middle of the board, that's like so dumb. But I don't think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see Gukesh playing very ambitious and trying to win these games. Ding, I think he's going to try to do his best to shorten the match. Honestly, if he can get like 5, 6 draws in a row, maybe even like 10 draws, I think that really helps in his favor. And he's just trying to like steal a game or two. So I think Ding is going to end up playing really safe, and I wonder if maybe that will cause Gukesh to even overpress in a few places, get maybe a little impatient with the positions he's getting. We'll see. What do you think Ding should be doing? To win the match.
I think Ding, just like you said, I think Ding needs to play super solid, play for the draws. I think he needs to almost play for the tiebreaker portion. And the reason for that is if you look at Ding versus Gukesh in Rapid and Blitz, Ding is quite a bit higher rated in FIDE Rapid, quite a bit higher rated in FIDE Blitz. And part of that is just a small sample size. Gukesh D doesn't play a ton of Rapid and Blitz. Those ratings haven't caught up. He's a young guy. But then if you look at chess.com Blitz, which neither of them play a lot of either, which is kind of interesting in itself, but Ding Liren is rated about 100 points higher than Gukesh D. So we have a young guy in Gukesh that doesn't seem to be, a Hans Niemann type Blitz player, just
What do
crushing
you mean?
everyone
What do you
or
mean by that?
or a Nihal Sarin. How about yeah, well, how about a Nihal Sarin, right?
Maybe a Faruja type.
A Faruja, exactly. So I think if Ding can take it all the way to the rapid tie breaks, he might be able to take Gukesh down in the rapid.
Yeah, there was an interesting interview with Magnus that came out for chess.com a while ago, and he was talking about Gukesh. He's like, I don't know what to make of Gukesh because he is so much stronger in classical than he is in Blitz and Rapid. He said that when he would play him in classical, it seems like Gakesh is just laser focused on the board and he's just calculating all the time and running through these lines in his head and calculating very deeply and very crisply. And he said at the end of the game, Gakesh was pointing out all these lines, and Magnus was like, "Yeah, I didn't even look at that. I didn't even know. Like, how'd you have time to even consider this stuff?" And so he definitely impressed Magnus in the calculation phase. And that's like by far, Magnus has pointed out that that's probably by far his biggest strength. But when it comes to like having that intuition, he says like he just doesn't have those chops built yet, where he can just like kind of make moves without thinking about them and have them be good moves, like you can see in Title Tuesday or something that Fabi has really improved upon, and obviously Magnus is probably the best in the world at for the last 10 years. So it's interesting. I think you're right. If Dink can shorten the match, get an early win, I think that's huge for him. I think he's going to be a bit of a favorite, I should say, in the Rapid and Blitz, which kind of goes against common wisdom, where you would give it to the younger player, don't you think?
Yeah, that's right. And usually I feel like the younger player is just, they think a little bit faster on average,
Hmm.
um, which kind of brings up an interesting point talking about the age of the players. So, what would you say is the prime age for a chess player who's top 10 in the world?
I would say like early 30s, 30 to 35.
Yeah, it tends to be like 29, actually,
Okay, so
like
even
even
really,
before age 30.
yeah.
And looking at the age of the players, Ding Liren was 30 years old when he was at his 2800 level for the last time, and he's now 32. And think back to all the different players that have been number two in the world and over 2800 during the course of Magnus reigning as number one. We have Topalov, Vishy, Kramnik, Aronian, Caruana, Hikaru, MVL, Wesley, Mamedyarov, Faruja, and Nepo. How many of those guys are over 2,800 now? And a lot
Mhm.
of them hit age 30 plus, and they might never be back. So there's a chance that Ding Liren is on a downward slope. and he never makes his way back. And I think the case for Dingler winning this match is actually, can he get back to his prime form for this match?
Yep, it's exactly right. It's remains to be seen. You kind of wonder. So he became world champion, and he basically has done nothing with the title. He's played maybe 20 games of classical chess in the last 2 years. It almost makes you wonder if he's worried about giving away his prep, don't you think?
It's possible, but then he's just getting in his own head too much, I think. I
Yeah,
mean, you don't want to tank that many rating points.
and you don't want to come to the board a little rusty, right? Like Gukesh has been playing so much. He just played a tournament like last week, in I think in Budapest maybe, or maybe it was after that. Vrnjanka Baja, I don't know where that is, but didn't do great. But he's at least playing, and he probably wasn't playing his main openings by any stretch of the imagination. But at least he's playing. Yeah, Ding has just been so absent. So yeah, we're gonna see. So let's just get to the chase. What do you give for the odds?
Well, should we first look at what the Chess Goals fans said?
Okay, yeah, let's look at the ChessGoals fans. So I'm not gonna give the odds right away, but let's go through. So if you are on our emails, chessgoals.com/newsletter, you will have seen that I sent out a big survey to get your guys' opinions on who is going to win the World Chess Championship. So we had 26 responses as of right now, and I'm going to poll the audience. Okay, what percentage of our viewers picked Ding to win? So
Ooh.
0 to 100, what percentage picked Ding to win? We'll play the Jeopardy theme song as we go. Matt and I, of course, know the answer. But of those 26, that says 5% in the chat. The correct answer is roughly 20%. So 19.2% picked Ding to win, 80% picked Gukesh to win. Is there speculation that Ding is having health issues? I think there was some speculation, but he cleared it up in an interview not all that long ago, saying that he's actually feeling pretty good and the health stuff is basically behind him for the most part. Should I read some of these responses?
Yeah.
Okay, so we had people write in. So if you wrote these, thank you. I don't have it whose email this is attached to, but okay. So number one, I feel that Ding should be able to win because he had overcome so much struggle in chess. I believe he is giving his best for the games. Okay, fair point. Um, Number two, Gukesh is in great form and is definitely the favorite to win, but I've been rooting for Ding for a few years now and will continue to do so. Irrespective of who wins the title, I want Ding to play some good matches, showing everyone he has not done. I think everyone can agree with that. I will Jesse dox anyone's email address? Hope not. I think everyone can agree with that. I think we're all just looking for a really good match. We don't want to see it one-sided either way. I mean, I don't think one-sided for Ding would be all that bad, honestly, if Ding just comes out and torches him. Okay, this one's a bit more pessimistic. This is one of the saddest world championships of my life. As of today, number 5 in the world versus the current world champion who's number 23 in the world. Whoever, or no matter who wins, it doesn't feel like the crown will be worn by the best player in the world. That is for sure. Gukesh has more legit claim to it, but if Ding wins, the right thing to do would be to refuse the crown. I'd still take the money. I think all
Hmm.
of this is the negative follow-up to how the candidate tournament is run today. Back in the day when it was 1 versus 1, best of 6 games, this would have never happened. FIDE needs to fix this. Maybe an outright point system tied to the strongest tournaments with number 1 and 2 playing each other at the end. And that's an interesting format. So like top two go to like a mini world championship match to play into the world championship match. That could be interesting.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
mind that at all. But I
yeah,
don't agree it's saddest world championship. I think the way I view this championship, this could be Gukesh D taking the crown and holding it for the next 10 years. And if Gukesh D blows Dinglerin out of the water, you know Magnus is going to want a chance to face him in a match, whether it's through the FIDE candidate cycle or they just set up something on their own to see who's the best player.
I agree. I think if Gukesh wins, Magnus should just be like, "Yo, I'm coming out of retirement. Let's put the belt up, put the belt
Yeah.
on the line, and go toe to toe." Because I think that would be great for chess. And yeah, you're right. I think if I agree with some of this. So Ding certainly has no claim to being the best player in the world, that's for sure. If Gukesh wins it all in like a, I don't know, pretty convincing fashion, like maybe it's a 14 game match, maybe he wins it in 10 games, so like +5 or something. I think you can claim that he's the best player in the world. He's gonna have to go through Magnus at some point, so maybe not the best player in the world until he proves it against Magnus. But you're right, though. I think he could just hold the crown for like 10 years. You said people enter their prime at 29. Well, guess what? He's 17 years old. He's got 12 years to go.
Yeah.
Okay, next comment. Love the podcast and courses offers. Great community y'all have built. Thank you, thank you. We could be surprised if Ding is using Muhammad Ali's famous rope-a-dope method of baiting his opponent
Great
into
comment.
thinking he is not up to the task. Maybe he's baiting. I don't know. What do you think?
Nah, I don't think so. I don't think he's gonna be baiting Gukesh. I mean, that's pretty extreme to be doing it for a whole year.
Yeah, that's like tanking for a higher draft pick or something like that. I just don't see it. Um, Next comment. Ding just needs to hold his own. Agreed. Sorry. Hi, this is Leon. Am I the only person in the community that has never completed a course properly? Halfway through a new course and the new one comes along and I get distracted. That happens. That happens. Next comment, looking forward to it. Last one, ding all the way. You got this, buddy. So we actually had a bit more comments in favor of ding, but more votes overall in favor of Gukesh. So about 80% of our audience chose Gukesh. So thank you, everyone who wrote in. Appreciate you. No responses since I last refreshed. So that is the final total. Can stop the count. Okay, so what is your prediction, Matt?
Wait, I just found some extra ballots here. I'll
Oh,
bring
okay.
these in.
Wait, hold on. From Florida.
Yeah. Someone just knocked on my door.
Yeah.
Thought it was a trick or treater. Uh, well, let's talk about the betting odds because this is actually pretty close to what the Chess Goals fans have said. Betting odds right now show Gukesh at around 67% chance to win. Ding, oh, I should say in the classical.
Yep.
67% classical, Ding 18% classical, and tiebreak 15%. And you could probably assume that it's a roughly 50-50 split for the tiebreak. And that would put Gukesh around, what, 73%, and Ding around 27%, somewhere around there, 26%. So I think we're looking at about 3/4 versus 1/4 chance to win based on the betting odds.
Yep.
And this is essentially exactly what I got using a current rating model without taking into account the players' ages. And I ran a Monte Carlo simulation. So I just essentially simulated the match 1,000 times using their current ratings, the expected draw rate, and I was able to build the expected win rate for each player based on their ratings and the draw rate. And I got 76% Gukesh, 24% Ding. And if you split that to classical only, 71 Gukesh, 16 Ding, and 13 tiebreak. So very close to the betting odds. And that actually makes sense to me because the betting odds are just slightly closer than the rating model.
Hmm.
And I did find in past World Championship matches, they tend to be a little bit tighter than maybe the ratings would show. It's probably just players playing a little more conservative, more okay with a draw than a standard game.
Yeah, and we have used the regression to the mean in the past. So I wonder if there's like a regression to the mean for Ding, where like right now Ding's rating is 27-28. I mean his true rating is probably a little higher than that. I wonder if he's gonna play like more like 27-50. Gakesh has been on a hot streak. He's 27-83. Maybe his true rating is a little lower than that. So, it does kind of come to the middle, but a 55-point advantage for Gukesh, that's got to be, meaningful in the numbers in the final odds. So
But the other way to look at that, rating is a lagging indicator of your performance.
this is
So
true.
you have to perform higher than your rating if you're Gukesh to get to that level, and you had to perform lower than your rating if you're Ding to drop to that level.
Yeah, and I think in over the last like year or so, Gukesh is performing somewhere around 2,800, maybe a little under. And I think last I saw, Ding was under 2,700.
Ooh, yeah,
Yeah,
that's painful.
I'm pretty sure this year Ding has only one win. Can you tell me who he beat?
No, I don't know.
He beat Gukesh.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think in like January or February of this year. That I'm pretty sure that's his only win of the year.
And he's 2-0 against Gukesh in classical and one draw. Is that correct?
I think, yep, two draw or yeah, one draw and he's won twice with black, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So that could be in his favor, but that's a pretty small sample size too.
Yep.
Um,
And I mean, one of those games was earlier this year. That's really the only time he's played Gukesh when he's been like the super GM that we see today. All right,
but
so, oh, sorry, go on.
here's the exciting thing. Should we break into what we teased about?
Yeah, sure. I don't even know what we teased about. So what is it?
Okay. So three times, we talked a little bit about this. Three times in the last 18 championships, we've seen an age difference of more than 7 years, which was statistically significant in the model that I built. What this means is we have a very young player coming against an established older champion. And the three times this has happened, 1985, Kasparov beating Karpov, a 12-year gap. 2002, Kasparov losing to Kramnik, a 12-year gap. And in
Interesting.
2013, Anand losing to Carlsen, a 21-year gap. Now, what do Kasparov, Kramnik, and Carlsen all have in common?
Ooh, I don't think I should answer this.
Just go ahead.
uh, they're world champs at some point. I don't know.
Yeah, and dominant world champs. Like all
Okay.
of these guys just reigned for like 15 years. One of them even became the world's renowned chess cheat analyst. I mean, these guys are in their own category among chess players.
Categories of one.
Yeah. So the the expected bonus score per game goes from 56% based on just their current ratings up to 62% for Gukesh D if you give this age bonus when there's a big age gap of more than 7 years. And in this case, it's a 12-year gap. Now, if I run,
So what is the
yep.
age bonus you're actually giving?
So there's a formula that says here's the ratings of the players, here's the ages of the two players, the differences, what's the expected score
Okay,
for each player.
you're just kind of like taking the age different into historical account and like younger
Yeah.
players performed like outperformed their rating and so you're giving Gukesh a little bump. Is that what you're saying?
When there's a wide gap in ages, yeah.
Okay.
So that bump is going brings them from 56% to 62% in this case
Yeah,
per game.
each game. So that's
Every game.
substantial. That's substantial.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you take that into account over 14 games, that adds up really quickly. So what do the odds look like for the whole match?
In classical portion only, it's 93% Gukesh, 5% Ding, and a 3% tiebreak.
Wow. So that is extremely one-sided. That's
Yeah.
basically you need to get like runner quads on the turn and river to win.
Yeah. So Zelda's asking in the chat, why do you think that wide age gap is significant? It could be small sample, but I think what we're seeing in these past events is we have a young player in all these cases that's skyrocketing and coming to the top. And then he meets up with the champion, surpasses him, and then stays in the champion role for the next 10 plus years. So this could be happening with Gukesh D, and that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, I agree, and this really seems like the changing of the guards because we have been talking about this for all year. Basically, is this whole theme of the changing of the guards. For the last several championship cycles, the old guard has held very strong. It's been like Nepo, Fabi, Naka, MVL, Levon. They're all at the top holding the line, and none of these younger players were really able to break through. Like Faruja maybe a little bit broke through. Um, I guess Eric Geisy just kind of broke through recently, but uh, this last candidate cycle, the youngsters really put it to the test, and now we have Gukesh, a new generation of chess player trying to win the world championship. I think that is the main story coming back to the world championship. If I were the one to market the world championship, that's the I guess angle I would take. Um,
Yeah, I would do the same thing. And I think that's why we really need Gukesh D to win. I mean, I'm not necessarily a fan of his over Ding Liren. I just think for the world of chess, we could use a new champion, and having an 18-year-old win the championship is going to be huge.
Yeah, how cool would it be to have an 18-year-old world chess championship? Like, he's only 9 years older than my kid. That's crazy, becoming the
Yeah.
world championship. Um, okay, so let me pose a question to you. Do you think Ding can get back to his prime form for the world championship?
I don't think so. I think it's possible that he could get close. Yeah, I
Hmm.
know it sounds so
Just
pessimistic. I mean, he
no.
could maybe get to, yeah, he could maybe get back to, 2780 level and try to meet Gukesh at his rating. Um, but to ever say Ding Liren's the favorite, I just have a really hard time saying that based on the trajectories and the ages and the current ratings.
Yep. I agree. It's possible, but it's pretty unlikely. It seems like he's kind of just on his way down, but you never know until they sit at the chessboard. I am looking forward to it. So, do you have a personal opinion about who is more likely to win?
Yeah, I would take probably the betting odds and then increase the chances even a little bit more for Gukesh. So I would say it's probably about 85% chance that Gukesh wins, 15% for Ding Liren.
Yeah, that's a big gap for sure. Um, And if you are listening, today is Halloween, actually, the last day in October. So we are just a little over 3 weeks from the opening ceremony. So they do the opening ceremony on Saturday the 23rd, and that really tires them out because the next day is rest day. So they take the next day off. And the real chess begins on Monday, November 25th. So we have a cadence of 3 games on, rest day, 3 games rest, 3 games rest, and then at the end it's games 13 and 14, and then that third day will be the tie breaks. So December 13th, at the very latest, we will have a new world chess champion, potentially a 17-year-old. um,
Yeah.
Exciting stuff. I am very much looking forward to it. All right, I think that is going to about do it for this episode. Matt, is there anything else you wanted to go over?
No, I don't think so. Thanks everyone who voted and thanks for tuning in.
Yep, for sure. We are working on getting some guests on the podcast, so I hope that over the next 5 or so episodes, we can have some guests on. Hopefully, some that you guys all know. And Matt will keep plugging every Ben Johnson's book at every opportunity he can get. I still need to read that book. Maybe I'll just steal your copy and never give it back. I tend to do that with your chess books. All right. Thank you all
Yeah.
for joining, and we will see you next week. Bye, everyone.